Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey. September 28th of last year, we took a trip to Covington, Kentucky to go to Revival Vintage Spirits to meet up with the McBrayer family to pick up their latest release of McBrayer. While we were there, we started browsing around Brad's, and there's a lot to see there. And there were a couple bottles that we decided to go ahead and pick up. One we previously reviewed that was Hill & Hill from 1974. Today, we're going to review the second one that we got from Brad, which is Yellowstone from 1982. Kind of your pre-Steve Beam days. So, Rebecca, do you have information about this bottle?
Yeah, I was able to find a little bit, so I will share that with you now. What I'm going to share is from Chuck Cowdery's blog. He talked about how great Yellowstone was. It really had its heyday, was a very popular brand during its time, but then started having a really sharp decline in the 70s. Production really slowed in the 80s, about the same time bourbon sales were declining. At that time, Yellowstone was owned by Glenmore Distillery, but they weren't even making any bourbon anymore. Instead, it was being distilled at Medley Distillery in Owensboro, Kentucky, which was previously the Green River Distillery and is currently the Green River Distillery. The production, as it slowed during the sales decline, Yellowstone closed for good in 1991, so just 9 short years after this bottle. You probably see Yellowstone on the shelves today, and that is a part of Limestone branch. And it is owned by Stephen and Paul Beam, are the Beam brothers, and they created Limestone Branch Distillery in 2010. It was their family's original bourbon, and they actually resurrected the Mashbill from family records that they acquired. But this is not that. But now what you're seeing in Limestone Branch, that's Yellowstone, that's out in the stores, is what is being made today based on the historic Mashbill. So this one is the one that was out there for many years and was very popular from the time after Prohibition.
And so this has been open for probably about 20 minutes now. And it was a perfect pop.
Yeah, it was a screw top, so cut the tack seal and it opened perfectly.
And I'm going to tell you once again, I would really love to see a lot of these distilleries go back to these screw tops because, I mean, 43 years, that thing held tight, didn't lose anything, and it smells really good.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at it because sometimes they will start to oxidize pretty quickly, but this one still looks incredibly clear. It's a really pretty golden and kind of dark honey color.
Yes.
And it's still
absolutely
very clear. So it definitely had a terrific seal. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been like this. This is an 86 proof. And it's a 200 milliliter bottle.
Trying to catch any legs.
There are some legs forming on mine. I can see that.
Okay.
So for 86 proof, that's kind of surprising. But let's see how the smell is. The aromas.
Oh boy.
It's very fruity, right? Are you getting anything? I'm just getting fruit.
I'm getting a slight honeysuckle.
And the fruit for me, this is going to sound really weird. It's something I don't like, but I like it on the nose. Fruit cocktail.
Interesting.
Fruit cocktail was always too syrupy for me, but I'm getting all that variety of fruit, like I'm smelling a fruit cocktail can that was just opened up.
Gosh, that was one of the things I had back in the 70s, those snack pack type things.
And that's what the smell is giving me.
That's a really good call. I don't think I would have picked that up.
It's crazy.
But now, you're right.
It's wild. I've never gotten that on a bourbon before.
No.
I'm just saying.
But there's also, I think, a honeysuckle.
Yeah, there's a floral
or
note.
A honey.
Yeah,
yes.
and there's definitely a floral note.
There's a bit of that, what we talk about, that dusty sense. It's not as extreme with this one.
No.
You could tell.
A lot less than the Hill & Hill was.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. Well, shall we go ahead? It's been waiting 43 years for this moment.
Woohoo!
Cheers.
It's kind of tasting like the nose.
Yes,
It's got that whole fruit cocktail vibe going on.
it does. It exactly matches the nose. From the slight funkiness to the fruit cocktail to what I found, that tad bit of honey or honeysuckle that's there. But this is actually predominantly a fruity bourbon.
Okay, something besides the fruit cocktail that it's reminding me of. Juicy fruit gum.
Well, that would have been
Same time frame.
same time frame. Yeah. And I kind of like juicy fruit gum. Preferred bubble gum, but juicy fruit.
What was the other one that was fruity? Was it Fruit Stripes?
Yes.
That one was very sweet. It was a little over the top. This reminds me more of juicy fruit than Fruit Stripes.
If it were Fruit Stripes, I would probably be like, but
I don't get gum on stuff. You get bubble gum now and then. I've never gotten bubble gum. So this is just kind of giving me the giggles almost that I'm getting fruit cocktail and juicy fruit gum.
Well, you know, it gives me hope that someday I'm going to find that 70s frozen dinner, Swanson's Salisbury steak. I do love the nose. The nose is opening up.
Let's take another sip and really talk about the finish.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, are you getting anything spicy? I'm not getting like, are you getting I'm not getting a baking spice or anything. Are you?
I'm getting a ginger.
Oh, that's a good call, because that would go really well with the fruit cocktail.
I'm getting a ginger because there was something back there. I'm thinking, this isn't cinnamon. It isn't pepper.
It's not a baking spice at all. Yeah.
It's a ginger, and it's not a candy ginger. It is kind of raw ginger that you would get from the root.
That's a really good call. I buy that completely. And while you were talking, the finish is still happening for me. It's an 86 proof. I wasn't really expecting much of a finish. Sometimes with the lower proofs, ironically, and I think that's why so many people don't get into bourbon, because they drink low shelf 80 proofers and they're really hot when you drink them, because they're not really meant to be sipped and savored neat, right? They're meant to be mixed in something, because that alcohol content really comes forward. So sometimes with an 86 or an 80 proof, I find that it's hot but not flavorful in the finish. But this one is just kind of warm. It's showing you it's there, and it is just hanging on. I'm a little stunned, but it has good legs, so that's probably why it's hanging on.
What fascinates me with this is 1982. That would have been sort of the decline, or this decline kind of being late 60s, and then the 70s with the decanters and things like that. This is 82. So this is going toward kind of the little bit of the bourbon drought. And what I love is they weren't cutting corners. You know, this is a time capsule, and it fascinates me because I remember being 16. I can remember where I was and kind of what I was doing at that time. And to think that this bourbon is still well made, and it wasn't kind of like, you know what, our industry's dying, it doesn't really matter what we throw in. These people still had pride in what they were doing.
Well, and for me, I wasn't 16. I was my senior year in college, or getting ready to graduate in 82. So I don't recall drinking this, because I was of legal drinking age during this time frame. And I was a Wild Turkey 101 drinker. So and I did cocktails and stuff like that, but I don't recall ever having Yellowstone. I can't wait to let Brad know how good it is.
Oh.
He always wants to know. I mean, that's one of the great things about Brad and the whole establishment of Revival Vintage Spirits, is because they want to know, was it good? When you finally open it, was it great? Did you enjoy it? You know, and he has a above 90% success rate with these vintage bottles, which you could get anything when you open the cork or you pop the screw top. But he keeps track for the customers that do come back to him, and I think he said 93 or 94% success rate.
I think it's 93,
which is pretty amazing when you're talking about things that are this old.
Yeah, and we don't know how this was stored. It's fascinating to me that this small the bottle. This is kind of one of those ones. We were just watching a movie, and in that movie there was a 200 milliliter bottle that the guy kind of pulled out. He had it in his glove compartment, and this is a kind of a back pocket type thing, but yet the label, you look at it, the label's in great shape. The screw top was in perfect shape.
Yeah, and the tack seal was clean as a whistle. I mean, I used my thumbnail to slit it open. I didn't even have to use a knife, but sometimes they're so delicate that you really want to get a really sharp knife, but it was solid on there. So I was just able to easily just pop it.
And the only thing that was done with this is I used a terry cloth towel to go ahead and kind of remove the excess dust when we first got it and put it on the shelf. So other than that, this is 1982 and Lionel Richie playing in the background. That's what I remember.
Well, I can't wait till March when we're back in the Covington area and we can go visit Brad again.
Oh yeah, he's got some things he's holding for us out there that will be featured coming up probably in the summer. A couple surprises and a couple cool things I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, our goal is to do one vintage pour a month to share with everyone, because I know a lot of people have not experienced the vintage, and we alter. Typically on the Fridays, we do a couple blinds a month, we do our whiskey of the month, and then we do one vintage a month. So always look for this on a Friday.
Yes, and I hope you've enjoyed it. This is a really good product. Cheers to you. Cheers to people that are watching us out there, and we hope that you as well will go ahead and maybe pick up one of these bottles and go back and have your opportunity to encounter history and what it was back in the day. Cheers, Brad. Cheers, everybody out there, and remember to drink responsibly.
To Sipping History.
Sipping History.